Here are 5 seemingly innocent habits that are actually slowly killing you. Number 1 is eating too much sugar. Let's cut to the chase. Sugar is a drug, and not only is sugar a drug, it has absolutely no nutritional value whatsoever, meaning to say it's absolutely useless. The big problem is sweetened food and drinks are everywhere and they're very easy to overindulge. Excess sugar triggers chronic inflammation in the brain, particularly in the hippocampus, which is vital for memory. Over time, this disrupts the insulin signaling of the brain and increases the risk of cognitive decline and Alzheimer's. Not to mention, your risk of type 2 diabetes and obesity increase significantly. The answer is very simple, yet extremely difficult and requires not only precision, but extreme discipline, and that is to cut it off completely. Number 2 is sitting down or laying down in prolonged periods of time without movement whatsoever. This is a huge problem, especially if you're the type of person who works in an office or simply works in a very sedentary lifestyle. The reason why this is such a big issue is because sitting down for long periods of time reduces blood flow to the brain, ultimately depriving it of oxygen as well as nutrients. Over time, this shrinks the brain region in your brain that is related to memory and learning, such as the medial temporal lobe. And not to mention, sitting down for long periods of time promotes inflammation, which damages neurons. Number 3 is deeply and disturbingly common, and that is mindlessly scrolling through social media feeds, especially for long periods of time. Nowadays, technology and social media is the easiest and most efficient way to stay informed and entertained. However, the biggest takeaway from this is dopamine spikes. Dopamine spikes from scrolling creates a reward-seeking loop, which ultimately rewires your brain to crave constant novelty. Thus, this significantly weakens your attention span and impairs your brain's memory to focus on long-term and meaningful tasks, ultimately making deep thinking increasingly difficult, and that's something you do not want. Number 4 is not just deeply common, it's also actually encouraged, and that is constant multitasking. The biggest problem is constant multitasking is not only praised, it's very deeply encouraged in today's busy, tech-driven world. The human brain simply isn't designed to handle multiple tasks at once. Constantly switching your focus rapidly over time depletes your cognitive energy, lowers your efficiency, and reduces and weakens your brain's ability to focus over time. Over time, this habit can shrink the prefrontal cortex of your brain, which is responsible for decision-making, learning, and memory. And finally, number 5 is constantly living in chronic stress. The biggest problem and the scary reality is many people genuinely believe that stress, especially chronic stress, is just a part of life or a sign of productivity. It's wrong. Long-term chronic stress literally floods the brain with cortisol and kills neurons within the hippocampus. Mind you, the hippocampus is critical for memory and learning. And not to mention, this also impairs the connection in the prefrontal cortex